Let me get this straight. Anonymous and Black Lives Matter want to determine the Republican nominee. I don't think so, especially if it's Donald Trump. Secondly, he hasn't sewn up the nomination yet, but I happen to believe that he'll go into the convention with 1,237 delegates in order to secure the nomination.
That was Herman Cain earlier this week on Mornings with Maria on the Fox Business Network, talking about the road ahead. And as we stand right now, 3 is proving to be a crowd in the GOP race. John Kasich and Ted Cruz are telling each other to drop out as they both fight to gain ground on Donald Trump and emerge as the alternative candidate. Retired neurosurgeon and former GOP presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson joining the conversation. Dr. Carson, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So what do you think? You think we go into Cleveland with an open convention? How do you see it?
Well, I hope not. You know, the reason that I came out with my endorsement when I did is an attempt to prevent that from happening, because I hope people begin to really think through the implications of going in and messing with the will of the people, trying to stop the will of the people and manipulate the situation. You're not going to get those enthusiastic people if you have another nominee other than the one that has brought them to the party. And that's going to basically hand the nomination or hand the election to the progressives. Yeah. And we don't need more progressives and more progressive Supreme Court judges.
Right. And when you came out and endorsed Donald Trump, a lot of people questioned why you were doing that, because during the whole campaign season, you know, he was attacking so many people, yourself included. And you told another network, you said, well, even if Trump turns out not to be such a great president, we're only looking at 4 years.
Yeah, you know, I'm a very pragmatic individual.
Yes, you are.
And, you know, if in fact, you know, you've got Hillary or somebody who appoints 2 to 4 Supreme Court judges, we're not looking at 4 years. We're looking at multiple generations. We're looking at the loss of the American dream, the changing of who America is. People need to step beyond step 1. We're not playing checkers here. We're playing chess. And unless you can really look at that, you're going to be bamboozled and fooled by those Stop Trump people who you just need to recognize what is the consequences. And you look at the other people who are running. You know, Kasich, he doesn't have a path to the nomination. And you look at Cruz, he does not have the ability to draw moderates and people from the other side of the aisle. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, actually, you make a really good point about drawing the moderates, because that seems to be the real sticking point with Ted Cruz. But I've got to tell you, I mean, I've spoken with the campaign, and they see that they say they have a real path to victory. They say Trump struggles in closed primaries. There are closed primaries in the next couple of months. Trump cannot beat Cruz head-to-head. Cruz will perform well in Utah and in Wisconsin. Cruz's ground game can and will dominate conventions and caucuses. And they think he's going to win big, by the way, on June 7th, when we have some major contests as well.
Yeah, but what about November the 8th? That is the question we really need to be looking at. If you're not going to be able to draw moderates and draw people from the other side, you're going to lose. And you're not going to have any coattails. You're probably going to lose the Senate. We're talking about America going from a nation that is upformed by the people to a nation that is upformed by the government. We're talking about selling our children and our grandchildren down the stream and becoming a socialist-like nation. Is that really what we want? We need to think this thing through.
Yeah, we just heard from Stephen Miller, who is the senior policy advisor to Donald Trump's campaign. He made a lot of smart and specific points about immigration and about trade. What does Donald Trump need to do to change people's minds on the Republican side, to get them to rally behind him in terms of specifics and specific policy?
Well, you know, I think he needs to continue to be who he is, but it is time, I believe, to really begin to talk about some of the real issues. You know, I think people may actually be ready to listen. When I was running, nobody wanted to hear about the issues. But I think now is the time to really talk about the policies, to talk about why you know, we've been put in a difficult position trade because of the policies that we've used and how the president can make a big difference with that. Some of these trade policies need to be renegotiated so that they're favorable to us or at least neutral. I think he's willing to do that. He needs to talk about the economy, the economic engine. How do you stimulate the economic engine? We need to be talking about how do we provide ladders of opportunity for all people in this country, because that ultimately strengthens the fabric of the nation. If we can take all the downtrodden people in our nation, and they've seen a lot of hope, but they haven't seen a lot of change. Let's give them some real change that gives them the opportunity to climb that ladder. That will make a big difference, and he needs to articulate that.
Well, when you were campaigning, I remember talking with you about your tax plan, which I was very impressed with. Are you going to try to get Donald Trump to use some of your specifics on a tax plan?
Yes, absolutely. You know, for me, it's about finding a way to improve life for the next generation. I know there's been all this crap about me angling for vice presidency. I could care less. It would be difficult for me to care less about that. I'm interested in how can we fix this country for the next generation. That's what my life was all about, improving life for children.
So what role would you take in a Trump administration?
I would be happy just to continue talking with him, you know, providing advice. I have no desire for title or position. Quite frankly, I would be delighted to move back into the private sector and continue doing the kinds of things that I was doing with education and with just informing people about the things that are going on in our nation.
All right, we will leave it there. And you do that so well, sir. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Dr. Ben Carson there.